this is what we're looking for. As always, I don't have any insider information. I avoided all outside information, leaks, whatever. We're gonna be looking specifically at the gameplay stuff for the base game, and then going to be talking about each and every single change, what I like, what I don't like, and then by the end, we're gonna be giving it a letter grading. The last few patches, I'd say, were kind of like in the C+, B, B- tier, where the vast majority of the changes, especially around perks, I really liked, but then there are a couple of outliers and a couple of things that honestly were not changed. We'll go over each one. I'm gonna try to predict what change I will see, and then we'll see how we do. We'll see how we do overall. So there's a lot of things that are happening. Happy Season 17, let's get into it. Map voting, this is the big sauce here. It gives players more agency about what map they would prefer to play on. At the start of every quick play and competitive match, 3 maps will appear, and every player will cast a single vote in the map that they want to play. During the map voting phase, match text and voice channels are disabled. Team chat is enabled, so you can type. Votes for each map from all players are then displayed. The game will then roll to see which vote is selected. So you increase your chances of winning the map by voting for it, but unlike hero bans, it's not, oh, whoever has the most votes guarantees the ban or guarantees the map ban. It just increases your odds. If you guys have ever played Rivals hero ban structure, it's very similar to that, mostly because otherwise we would have like very little map variety, I feel like. So this is kind of forces a little bit of map variety without making, well, still giving you the agency to choose what you like. Maps with more votes, more likely to be selected, etc. If people vote overwhelmingly for a single map, the map is automatically selected. Okay, so that I didn't know. After map voting, the hero ban phase will begin. Okay, sounds good. Good stuff. Hero updates. Damage roll passive reduction increased from 25 to 30%. Base health regeneration timer increased from 5 to 6 seconds. Now, I'm not going to go into detail. You guys have already seen my YouTube video I guess a week or so ago, where I talked about it from the dev blog. If you haven't, go check that out. The weirdest change Overwatch 2 was made, I believe is the title. I'm not a fan. I've had the opportunity to speak a little bit with some of the developers about this and explain they want to feel the damage roll. They want the damage roll to feel unique, and they want damage to feel more permanent. I hear you, but I don't agree. I really don't agree at all. So I'm not going to go into more detail. I do so more in detail during that initial reaction. We don't need to add additional time to this, but yeah, TLDR is, I don't think this is going to be useful. I think this, if you wanted to deal with healing, you need to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I don't think damage needs to feel a unique passive. I don't think you need to force passives onto rolls. They're just not necessary. We don't need to feel like a unique identity. I think it's wildly overrated. And I think base health regeneration timer, making damage feel more permanent, going from 5 to 6 seconds, is just a massive quality of life nerf, and I just don't like it. So I won't go into more detail. It not good in my opinion. That's it. Okay, let's keep going here. Junker Queen. Okay, let's focus on Junker Queen before we look into, because again, I don't want to spoil anything. I want to talk about Junker Queen. I think Junker Queen's struggling. I think that we already know that they're going to buff the shout. We saw that from the previous dev blog. I think she's very hard to play. I think the problem with Junker Queen is that her matchup versus other Brawl tanks isn't all that good. So other short-range tanks are not great. Orisa matchup can be difficult. Mauga matchup can be difficult. Even stuff like the Reinhardt and Zarya matchup can be difficult. And all of these things while also having a much more difficult skill floor to access those things. The problem is that she still is a pretty decent tank if you can play her. She's just not a very easy tank to pick up. So she chronically underperforms in that weird way, or chronically overperforms, depending on which way you look at it. So I'm curious to see what they look at here. I would love to continue to increase her value ceiling of what she can do, her own agency. I'm concerned, I've already again talked about this in the previous video, I'm concerned about them buffing her health in terms of her shout, her AoE potential, because that has chronically always been either something that is either not as useful or broken when abused. When she was first released, her overhealth to her teammates was really strong, and it kind of broke the whole off-angle map control. You could just kind of clump up. I'm not a huge fan of this. So let's take a look here. Let's see what they do. Junker Queen, developer comments. Commanding Shout has been updated to provide stronger team utility and improve its overall impact. The adjustments reward well-timed use by increasing survivability for both Junker Queen and allies. The reduced duration for Junker Queen is a double-edged sword. She doesn't have the speed boost for as long, but the cooldown rotation is quicker since the cooldown begins once the effect ends. So it doesn't last as long, but she has it more frequently. I think that's overall a good change. Let's take a look here. Junker Queen overhealth increased from 175 to 200. So when she uses it, she gets more overhealth. Allied overhealth is slightly buffed. This is not significant, so this is probably going to be fine. Duration for self reduced from 5 to 4. Allied duration increased by a little bit. It's fine. This is relatively inoffensive. The crucial thing that I would have liked to have seen actually bullet pointed here is what they said here. The cooldown rotation is quicker since the cooldown begins once the effect ends. So I assume that there's no change to that. Okay, maybe there isn't a change to that. So if it lasts 1 second shorter, she gets it back 1 second shorter. I misunderstood what this was trying to say. So that's my bad. So basically they're nerfing it, but saying, hey, it's not so bad. You'll just get it back faster again. Yeah, okay. 1 second faster for 1 second further duration. If we're looking at things from a strict uptime, it's still a nerf, right? Just because you get it a second faster, if it lasts a second shorter, it doesn't really matter because yes, you're able to hold on to the overhealth. Your overhealth's probably gone after 5 seconds anyway, but you're able to keep the speed. The speed's gone. I don't know. Sure, I think her cooldown on shout may have been too long, so this is not the end of the world, but this is kind of a neutral change in my opinion. So Mauga, I think, is in a pretty good spot. I think they still need to work on the way that his weapons function in terms of like how easy it is to just farm tanks like Mauga, things like, Ramattra, and build overhealth off of those things. I think some of his overrun perk, like to set people on fire, the more accessibility to his slam, the more reward for the slam damage has been good. Mauga has progressed slowly in a good, healthy direction. I'm curious to see what they do with Mauga. Now, I will say, he is not a good tank right now, so I've always been of the opinion that you need to be very careful about making Mauga good, because he's still not quite deserving of good. Let me give you guys an example. Lifeweaver, I would never want a Lifeweaver meta right now, but Lifeweaver being picked more often has been fine because he's a little bit harder to play and has a much healthier skill ceiling with the damage that he can do. Still has his issues, but has earned to be okay, right? I don't think Mauga is quite there yet, but I'm open to see what they're willing to do. Berserker overhealth conversion has been reverted to restore some of Mauga's durability to be more balanced toward previous changes. Overhealth conversion rate from this is specifically his using his weapons to generate overhealth. He converts now more overhealth, more sustain. No, thank you. Nope, that's probably the worst aspect of him besides the cardiac damage reduction. No thanks. So this makes more of his survivability still tied to using his weapons on the fattest target available. Not a fan. He's an underperforming character by a little bit, but I would have preferred the more Orisa approach of buffing certain aspects of his overhealth, or even stuff like the Fortify perk where you get overhealth without using your weapons, so you're still more flexible. This means more of his survivability is tied into using his lifesteal from his weapons, which was by far the most difficult and annoying aspect of his kit. Yeah, to compensate for the DPS passive buff, no? Yeah, probably. Yeah, within that context, absolutely. So I dislike both things. I hate both, right? Nothing's in a vacuum, that's true, but I hate everything. So not the end of the world. This isn't really a major change, but this is just a small negative change. So let's be very clear, guys. Like, I didn't give the disclaimer here. Like, it's not the end of the world. None of these things are going to be the end of the world. Most likely. Not a fan. Berserker also gives overhealth from overrun, right? Because you set them on fire. Yeah, so skill expression with Mauga is through his slam and alternating weapons, but that is not going to be strictly through firing both weapons at the same time. No, we're 2 changes in, so no, the patch is not bad. We don't know yet. All right, Ramattra. I mean, Ramattra really needs a bit more of an overhaul in terms of his cooldown length. I have always felt his cooldowns are too long. I don't expect these things to change. I'm expecting myself not to like. I have never liked the changes they have done to Ramattra. I don't think there's been a single change outside of Vortex, the perk, that I have liked from this character, so I'm expecting myself to be disappointed. But he has generally been a very well-performing tank. The only thing that's been keeping him in check is his really bad matchup versus Orisa. Let's see. Nanite's repair healing per second has been increased to enhance its consistency and overall effectiveness during the short duration of Ravenous Vortex. Yeah, so Ravenous Vortex was just too good. Nanite repair was too bad, so they buffed Nanite repair. Okay. Still Ramattra. Neutral change. This was definitely the more underperforming perk, but I'm not a big fan of this perk, and nothing else has changed, so I don't care. Zarya. Chronically bammed character. One of the most hated heroes in the game, with how she basically just exists on main and shoots. I think Zarya could use a lot more love with her perks. Her alt fire perk is excellent. A lot of the other perks feel relatively uninspired. I'm curious to see how they lean into more decisions with her. I'm open to some ideas here. Spotter and Graviton's Crush receive targeted buffs to improve their effectiveness, ensure they remain viable choices alongside their counterpart perks. So the Graviton Crush is the percentage of maximum health using Grav. That is increased from 30 to 40%. Okay, that makes it more effective versus tanks. It just makes it more effective, period, because 10% more of health is not nothing, even versus a squishy. That's still 25 extra health versus a 250 HP target. That's not terrible. I still think alt fire perks can be better the vast majority of the time, but there's an actual choice here. Major perk movement speed increased from 15 to 25%. That's going to be a really saucy one to keep an eye on. So for those of you guys don't know, the bubbled target that's not you gets increased movement speed. Whereas the Lance one, I believe, is the one that allows you to give you cleave when you're at a higher charge. This is an interesting change. This definitely, I mean, that's a pretty significant movement speed bonus. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going here. Tank changes, neutral, whatever. No real progression of character design, no real progression for character health, buffing the outliers that made sense in terms of the perks themselves. But I'm a design guy, and I am not as focused on balance because I don't really care as much about balance unless the character is woefully underperforming. And I just don't care about any of these changes. So yeah, it's fine. It's neutral. C. Let's keep going here. Damage. Bastion. Ooh, what would Bastion? I think Bastion's in a decent spot right now. Trying to think what I would do. I don't have anything that comes to mind with Bastion that isn't digging into the weeds here. I haven't put as much thought about Bastion since the perks because I think he's in a little bit more of a healthy state. So I don't know, to be honest. Oh, the model size. Okay, never mind. I'm an idiot. You're right. This is a good change. This is nice. We like this. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm like thinking about everything but the hitbox. This is a good change. This is a great change. Shut up. Stop laughing. I'm sorry, bro. This is good. This is good. I like this. This is a great change. This also implies the possibility for this being done for other characters at some point in time. I know it took a lot of work, so I am going to be sensitive to that and not expect this everywhere. But I think this is a really good change, and this is something that I've been asking for 2 years. Not on Bastion specifically, but being open to this idea for other characters. Tanks that are way too big and suffer as a result. Supports like Zenyatta that are way too fat. Like, instead of giving Zenyatta these crazy defensive tools, just shrink his hitbox a little bit. Characters like Kiriko, who have way too tiny of a hitbox and strafe pattern. Just the fact that this is a thing is really big. Good stuff. This is another knob to tweak. Echo. Echo is going to get a buff, almost certainly. I think Echo needs help. I think her perks are mid. I think the shield change that they gave her was really great, but still not quite enough. I think she's one of the hardest characters to play right now. I'm curious to see what they do with this character. I think the biggest problems with Echo is that she's basically a sticky bot. If she hits her stickies, she wins. If she doesn't hit her stickies, she dies. That's basically it. So let's see here. Reducing the speed of Echo's tri-shot improves its effectiveness at range. The spread, not the speed, I'm dumb. Making more consistent option for highly mobile characters. Spread decreased. Wow. This definitely allows her to lean more into her HP. So this is important. They had to make a choice here. Do you want to make her more effective in the mid ranges, which she's just not very good at? Or do you want to give her more HP so that she's more of a verticality dive character, aka kind of like a Genji? They leaned more into the spread, which I think I like better because it's what separates her as a flyer from some of the other characters. You have characters like Pharah, Genji, Reaper, Venture, Torb that just are more consistent up close. And it also expands her flexibility to not just be around her stickies. She actually has slightly more medium range. So it spreads her value over more tools besides just her stickies. Because if you buff Beam, I agree that Beam is not very good, but you're basically kind of pigeonholing her into that range, beam range, sticky range, same thing. No point really using your poke all that much. This, we'll have to wait and see how this is executed and how this feels, but I like the spirit of this change. Yeah, because she already is a very powerful character in medium range, short range, when she has her cooldowns, and very bad when she doesn't. This kind of gives you more nuance of how you play. So this is something I'm willing to give a shot. So far pretty good. Definitely interesting. Pharah. What would you change with Pharah? Probably more tweaks to her shield buff over her moving barrage. I think it's an underrated perk. I don't think it's necessarily better than moving barrage, but I do think it's underrated. Maybe more shield HP. Shield health regeneration triggers when landing direct hits with rockets. Whoa! Okay. I'm okay with that. That's huge. Helps a lot with the type of playstyle that perk is supposed to enable, which is kind of self-sufficient flanker. Now, keep in mind that shield health regeneration is still very slow, but it's very similar to Control-Alt-Escape. Now, let me kind of give you guys that analogy. If you've never played Sombra before and you've never played with Control-Alt-Escape, you will not know how powerful the uptime from that perk is. which is why it's basically a must pick for that character. This opens up way more uptime with a character that they're trying to lean into a less pocket spam tank playstyle. This might be too strong. This might not be enough. I don't know. I like the spirit of this change. I'm gonna go and see it. Good stuff. DPS changes so far are really good. Reaper. They've done continuous creep on dire triggers, improving it. I think the damage after Wraith, the lifesteal after Wraith is still a decent perk. I think the teleport range is decent. I think the soul globe is garbage. I really understand why they did it because it's the nostalgia, but it's just not great. Anything that is reliant off of securing an elimination and then walking over something, it's just not all that useful. Post-elimination perks are just generally bad or overrated in general. That applies to all characters, but the Soul Globe one is an especially punishing weird one. I love it. It's cool. It's just never something that I would ever seriously pick. So I'm hoping that they're going to lean more into that. Heroes like Reaper and Tracer had their damage reduced in the past due to the shift to the 5v5 format, so tanking less frequent peeling made flanking heroes more effective, along with their strong performance in certain maps. This is now less of a concern with the introduction of map voting and hero bans, which helps limit overperformance, so we're restoring some of their damage potency. Uh-oh. Reaper does more damage. Okay, interesting. They're keeping the globes. I was not expecting this, my friends. Now, I'm sure that they have statistics aside, statistics that Gavin has said maybe will come live, maybe sometime soon. So we can kind of judge more of these changes within context. This is not a major damage change, to be fair. Alex said that? Yeah, that's right. He said it on Reddit. You're right, I remembered it. Whatever, sure. Reaper's not that great versus Winston. He's good versus Winston, but since the armor changes, he's not amazing. Like, this is not that big of a deal. Let's keep going. Soldier. I mean, Soldier's cheeks. Until they change freaking heal station, he's cheeks. This is probably gonna be another like helix buff or damage buff. I just wish they deal with healing station, to be honest with you guys. The fact that we still have that cooldown in its same format, it is the worst cooldown in the game. Not in terms of necessarily strength, just its strength / design. It just sucks. It sucks. This character that is all about rapid mid-fight rotations has a heal station that lasts, what, 5 seconds? It's just terrible. It's just terrible. So I'm hoping that this has changed. I'm not expecting it to, but yeah. Okay, so this is just, I guess, a quality of life change with the stim pack. Not a big deal. Tracer damage buffed. Oh my gosh. I mean, most of you guys aren't going to necessarily suffer with this all that much. Again, the reason why Tracer is by far the most honest DPS character in the entire game is the fact that it requires a level of execution to beat that any ranked player up to Masters is going to be able to counterplay, right? That being said, this is a pretty significant buff. And she does have a pretty strong perk set as well. Percocet, okay. Now, I don't know what her win rates are looking like. I don't know what her pick rates are looking like. I know she's pretty strong right now, like stayed relevant at the highest ranked, but I have no idea what she's doing like elsewhere. It's so weird to buff a character because of bans and map pools because it means they'll overperform where they were. Yeah, it was a weird justification with Reaper and Tracer, but I guess the idea is that maybe Push and Flashpoint get banned more. I don't know. I think it is a risky move without really knowing how the map voting is going to shake out. I'm not smart enough to know, guys. I'm like, yeah, Havana's gonna get banned. Yeah, I think jackasses like me can predict that. Not every time, but yeah. But how much Push or Flashpoint are we gonna see? I know support players don't like Push and Flashpoint. They don't like moving, especially Flashpoint, right? So maybe they get banned more often. Remember, guys, when we talk about ban metas start with a kernel. They're like a freaking pearl. You start with a kernel of truth, like Sombra's really freaking annoying, Zarya's really freaking annoying, and then the meta grows to a disproportionate level because the cult. Hey, drive safe, love you. Because the culture kind of, like the meta kind of builds around that, right? It's built around a grade of truth that people don't like Sombra, but then it always exacerbates. It always grows to a level beyond it. So if that happens with Flashpoint, then yeah, I don't know. And I do think Tracer's pretty flexible. I don't think Tracer's as map situational as Reaper. So I'm open to seeing. It is a very risky change, though, doing this without knowing the consequences. I don't think it's going to be a big deal out of all the DPS to receive a buff like this. It's going to be Tracer, but yeah. Venture. What does Venture need? I mean, Venture's perks are... I think the melee perk's kind of meh. Everyone's always like, oh, the melee, it's broken the shields. It's so incredibly niche. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. This probably due to something like a statistic of over underperforming. The change improves Venture's damage output by increasing fire rate. Whoa, they're buffing the fire rate? Yo, that's actually pretty significant. So the combo's not buffed, but just general pressure's increased. That's pretty big, guys. I know it's only 0.1, but for one from 0.7 to 0.6 is a pretty large change percentage-wise. Yeah, like 14, yeah, something percent. Support. Lifeweaver. Might be a nerf. I hope it's to sustain and not any of the quality of life changes they've made. Let's see. Successful cleansing and debuff now reduces life grip's cooldown, improving the usefulness. Life grip's cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds if a debuff is cleansed. Yo. Now, crucially, this is the minor perk. This is not a global change to his kit. If you choose the perk that nobody freaking chose, let's be very clear. Nobody freaking chose that perk because it was cheeks. Life grip cleanses. Who gives a frick? Well, now you're rewarded if you get a cleanse by a 4-second reduction, which is not that much. I still don't think. Does this count with the DPS passive? I don't think so. It shouldn't. If it does, that's kind of interesting. But honestly, even if it did, it's still not going to be broken because the other perk is too broken. Like, let's keep in mind, everyone's like, parting gift, who gives a frick? Yeah, parting gift is whatever. The other minor perk gives you a permanent 10 healing per second. And this is what you're competing with here. Now, if you're never being dove, the map doesn't allow you to be dove, maybe this is useful. But to be honest with you guys, if you're never being dove, you should be taking space and forcing your value. I still don't see this perk being... I just don't see this perk being better most of the time. But this is a good idea, and I'm glad that they're trying with it. Lucio probably should deserve a buff. Lucio is a great example, a little bit like Tracer, but significant. I guess the analogy doesn't really carry, but like Tracer's fine in ranked. Lucio is fine in ranked. He's just really hard, and I would say he's even harder than Tracer skill floor wise, or value floor wise, just because there are so many maps. He's not near as flexible as Tracer. Requires a level of execution much higher because he doesn't have the same level of mobility. Lucio, man, I think the damage is fine. I don't know if they're going to give him 250 HP. That wouldn't be a bad change, but might be too much. Maybe an aura increase. Maybe some of his perks get some minor changes here. I'm curious. This change makes his passive healing more impactful and better aligned. Base healing increase from 16 to 20 health. Sure. I don't think this is broken. This is fine. This is also more about building his ultimate a little bit faster as well and making him slightly more useful in taking duels. It's fine. I don't know, Soren. I don't know if it scales. I would assume it does not scale. I would assume that his amp healing stays the same. I don't think Moira needs her 250. I think Moira's in a pretty good spot right now, especially with her perks. Moira. Ooh, I think Moira's fine right now. I mean, design-wise, Moira's not fine, but that's not going to happen here. So, I think all of her perks are pretty balanced, to be honest with you guys. Like, I think there's upsides and downsides for all of her perks. They're all good. I don't know what they would change with Moira. I think she's fine. If she's underperforming, then she's Moira, so she deserves to. I'm surprised to see her here. No. Now, again, this is not done in a vacuum, even with, especially with the Lucio change too. This is the DPS passive buff. But then don't buff the DPS passive! Sorry. And buffing Moira's sustain is by far the least interesting aspect of the character. Her burst heal is still relevant when you combine it with Heal Orb. I believe it's the highest healing per second in the game, even with a recent BAP change. If you have Heal Spray plus Heal Orb, it's the best burst heal in the entire game on a single target over like a couple of seconds. So if you're trying to buff her sustain heal, that's a mistake, especially when the DPS passive is exactly for that situation, sustain healing. I just, no. This is why we don't do forced passives onto roles and then creep them higher when we feel that they're not quite doing the job enough. Remember, for those of you guys that don't know, the DPS passive is the least interesting strategic execution of a unique role passive / team play in the entire game. It rewards brain dead follow of one target, the most obvious target on the battlefield, which is the tank, And even though the tank has a reduced version of the DPS passive, they are still increasing the value of that DPS on that target. The point of high-level Overwatch is split focus synchronized on multiple targets at the same time. Not 5 different targets, this isn't deathmatch, but multiple targets. When you reward focusing on one target all at the same time, one healing, just glut, this is not this isn't going to change the way the game is going to be played, but it's moving. It's not moving in the right direction. This is what you see. This is why. This is not an accident that we've seen a little bit of healing creep here with the increase of the DPS passive. They want healing. They want it to be reliant off of DPS pressure to secure kills more so, which is a mistake. It's a mistake. You don't need to force a unique identity of DPS. The fact that they don't have to worry about sustain and pressure at the same time is what makes DPS unique. In addition, the comparison between DPS and support is that DPS generally have faster cycles, right? So support generally has windows of vulnerability around their longer cooldowns. DPS do not as often. Yeah, also says secondary fire. This should be primary fire, but whatever. Zenyatta. Duality struggle due to the number of conditions required for activation. Increase the converted damage, improves its effectiveness when those conditions are met. So duality is when you're shooting a discorded target, correct? You convert some of that damage into your sustain onto the target that you've harmony orbed, correct? So when you have a harmony on tank and you discord and shoot the enemy tank, I don't know if the discord's a factor or if it's just raw damage output. I can't remember. You transition some of that. I mean, this is a bad perk, and this is probably a perk that needs buff. So sure. Is this going to go down in another season 9? No. This is very minor, all things considered. Very minor. I mean, this patch is pretty. Not gonna lie to you guys, there's just not a lot that happened, and most of what happened was mostly neutral. I think by far the most interesting changes, the ones that I liked the most, were from the damage. You got hitboxes with Bastion, you got Echo getting some of her poke back, some cool tweaks to perks from Pharah, some interesting changes to Tracer, Reaper, and Venture for sure. But honestly, kind of an whatever patch. Just nothing really happened here a whole lot, for better or worse. I definitely am not a fan of the health passive. I'm not a fan of the DPS passive. I wasn't a fan of a lot of the tank changes and some of the support changes, but there's nothing that your game is not going to feel all that much different. I think the ones to keep an eye on by far are going to be little things like a little bit of the tank meta that may or may not change. The map voting is by far the most significant thing. Keep an eye on Tracer, keep an eye on Reaper, keep an eye on seeing if teams, like how much Moira sustain actually increases. Just little things, but there's not a whole lot. I would say give it a C-. C being an average patch. This one feels like there was more negative to say than positive, but not by much, and most of the changes were relatively small, so I'll go C-. Map voting is going to be the big one that could bump it either down a tier, because map voting just doesn't do anything at all, or map voting is really good. It could be a B. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm interested to try some of the hacks and hygiene stuff. I'm interested to try the new Flashpoint map, but yeah, okay. But yeah, this is by far the quietest season that we've had in probably a year.